There we go. Totally new to this, so bear with me on anything that goes a little awry. So I'll give a few minutes for people to get joining, but the gist of what I'm going to be doing today is creating a laser cutting jig that can be used in my laser. It'll be indexed to my laser, but in theory could be used in any laser like mine. I have a Nova a Thunder Nova 35. I've had it for about 2 years now, and it's treated me great. I don't use it for a day-to-day business at the moment. I'm a just extreme hobbyist, I guess, and I've been doing laser cutting for about 5 years now, so or 6. No, I guess closer to 7. But I obviously have it for my channel and just wanting to make cool stuff. And a few months ago, actually August, I believe, I got an email from one of my subscribers named Dave, who was curious if I could show how to create a laser cutting jig for I believe he was wanting to laser etch like regular number 2 pencils. And it was funny because at the time I had also wanted to maybe do a video on laser engraving carpenters pencils. Like, I lost my prop already. I can grab the window. But carpenter's pencils like this, where it's just a, I believe, 7-inch by 15 mm pencil. You either sharpen it with a utility knife or whatnot, and it's the most common used pencil in the shop, unless you're using a mechanical pencil like I often do. But I wanted to, a few years ago, I go to a woodworking conference. I've gone for the last 2 instances of it. It didn't run in 2021 because of COVID, but I wanted to maybe laser etch a few of these for some YouTube channels that I follow, but I never got around to it. But last year I made a couple friends, and so I figured this year I would laser etch their logos on it and give it to them at WorkbenchCon 2023, which is in a month or 2. So I'm going to make a jig to laser etch a dozen of these at a time, and I'm going to basically start from scratch for the most part. I do have a pre-prepared design like they do on the baking shows, just in case I can't figure out. I can't figure it out. My design tool of choice is Adobe Illustrator. That is a paid app, but I know not everyone has Adobe Illustrator, and most people do their designing in either something like SketchUp, or sorry, not SketchUp, the free Illustrator, the app that's like Illustrator. Oh, awesome! I just saw Dave, who gave me this idea, is in the chat. Hey, Dave. Hopefully you get some use out of this. But I don't use Lightburn for my design on a day-to-day basis, so I may struggle to do this in Lightburn, but I'm going to try because I know most people who are laser etching either have Lightburn or they're using their laser's proprietary software. And so I have my Illustrator version ready to go if I just am flailing too much in Lightburn, but we're going to try. So let me show you, I guess, before we get started, the premise of what we're going to do here. So let me quick switch to my other camera. And actually, let's switch back for a second. I've pre-cut a couple pieces of wood, and their sizes is not super important. But the primary piece that we're going to use is a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, and this was just a scrap. And I cut the corners off because we're going to be indexing this into the corner of the laser's inner enclosure, and so that has a rounded edge, and it's just easier to lop off the corner so that this can fit square in there. And I don't know if you can see where I wrote, but I wrote top and I wrote left because I already figured out that these two sides are square to one another within the laser. So we have this, and then we have a piece of plywood that I've 1/4 inch plywood that I've cut that's 9 inches by 10 inches, and I've already measured, and I can fit a dozen pencils vertically on this piece of plywood. So what we're going to do is, after getting this indexed and tracing out where this 1/4 inch piece of plywood is going to go, we're going to glue this down to this piece of wood, but only around the perimeter. And that will allow us to cut out the inner rectangles that hold the pencils while letting them come out while the baseboard that's underlying it, while the upper board is secured to the backing board, and that way it'll just be indexed to it. So let me show you a little bit of what I'm talking about there, and let me check the chat real quick. We're good. Awesome. So let me go back to the lasers camera, and I'm going to bring the microphone with me because until this piece of wood can fit in there. And this is what I'm talking about. Your honeycomb bed, the reason we're indexing it to the frame cutout of the laser is because a lot of people might be inclined to index their a jig they make to the honeycomb, but your honeycomb is not, I guess, fixed. If you take your honeycomb bed out for any reason, like you're trying to get a little more height on a really tall object or something, and then you put it back in, it could shift by 1 millimeter or 2. And so the frame here that you have within the laser, that's not gonna change. That's fixed. And so what we want to do is we want to reference our laser cutting jig off of that. And the laser is at its home position right now. I'm trying to, that's as high as it can go, and that's as left as it can go. So we're gonna start our jig right there, and that way the engraving part that happens within here is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my bottle of glue, which I forgot. If you guys could see my nest of wires near my laser and chair, it'll be amazing if I don't trip over one of them while we're on today. So let me switch back, and we'll go to Lightburn. We're gonna go over to Lightburn now and try to get started. So alrighty. So we are now in Lightburn, and one of the things you want to make sure of is when you're etching in Lightburn or working in Lightburn, you can either have absolute controls or like current position of the head. And for this, you can certainly work in absolute, but I tend to prefer working in current position mode, meaning if the head of my meaning the job will start from wherever the head of my laser is. That way, if I don't have my design perfectly up in that corner, but I know up in the corner where the red dot is, but I know that's where I want it to start from, we're good. So I only use absolute position if I'm using my camera overlay, which I think I can update. Whoops, I don't know why that's not working correctly. Let me try. There we go. So you can see, like, I can design on top of this, but it's not overly important, and I would rather work from user origin anyway. So I'm going to turn that off because I'm not worried about that, and I'm using user origin. So the piece of plywood that I mentioned, it is, and I'm going to turn my my webcam overlay is on. Perfect. So my piece of plywood that I cut is 9 inches wide by 10 inches tall. So let's go ahead and draw that first. And I have my Lightburn units in millimeters, which is my optimistic way of hoping to learn metric over time, but I'm not there yet. But you can just type in 9 inches and it will automatically convert to millimeters. So 9 inches by 10 inches. Perfect. So this is going to be the board that this is on. So everything we do on the template is going to be on top of this. But we will etch or cut a reference line for this board first, so we know where to glue. So, oops, and again, this is my Lightburn, not knowing exactly what I'm doing. I just drew a second rectangle. But there's our first rectangle. And so now, if we switch back to my, if we switch to the Thunder Cam and I do a frame on this, let me make sure, oops. That is very odd, sorry. There we go. My ThunderCam was not set up correctly in my streaming software. It changed between my testing and going live. So I don't know if that showed, so let me do it again. If we frame this, it will basically show where that rectangle will get drawn on our board. And we can go ahead and do this bit now, because as long as we have this indexed, that's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we don't need super strong settings, but we do want my ThunderCam, when it's down, it doesn't reach that corner, so I have my other camera set up right here in the corner, pointed at it, so it's a little bit far away, but yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't see another couple comments. Hey, Bill. Nice to see you from Ontario. Welcome. Harry from Finland. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So yeah, let's go ahead and draw the etch that on the board. And what is a good setting for this? I'm gonna go ahead and do, this just needs to be a light pass. So actually 10, 10, 150, let's maybe make that 200. And we'll go ahead and switch to the EOS camera. and we will start the job in Lightburn. Oh, but first let me turn my laser exhaust on, and if it gets noisy, I apologize. I gotta have my my fan on to keep smoke at a minimum, and it's not as loud as the fan that comes with it, but it is still pretty loud. All right, let's go ahead and start this. So this is just a very light line. I might have even had that too fast. Let me see if that was even enough to see. Oh, you know what? Because I'm distracted, I forgot to focus. That would help. So let's go back to Lightburn, and we will go to move, and we'll focus Z. And that might help get a little better of an etch, because it was about half an inch out of focus. So let's go back to the EOS and start that again. Much better. Great. So now let's switch to the Thundercam, and I will go ahead and turn my exhaust off, since that is very loud. And now what we can do, I'm going to turn the webcam overlay off so you guys don't have to look at my butt. With that done, our board will fit on here perfectly, and the head of the laser is in the way, so I'm going to lower that. Because we're now adding height to the overall setup. Now normally if I was going to do this, I would let the glue dry half an hour or whatever, so that it's not prone to moving, but I don't want to make you guys sit on the stream for half an hour, so I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to basically hot glue a couple globs of glue around the corner of the board once it's glued down, so that it holds it in place a little better, and we can get going with the rest of it. So I had a little bit of a flake out happen on this side of the board, so I'm going to use this for my bottom. And this is just regular Type Bond wood glue, and I'm only doing the perimeter. Oops. And hopefully I don't get any into the center where my rectangles are, otherwise it might be a little difficult to get them out, but this should do just fine. And then I'm just gonna smear it a little bit to make sure I don't have excess. And I'm not wearing my normal crappy pair of jeans that I wear in the shop, so I need to remember not to wipe the glue on my pants like I normally do. Do y'all have any clothes that you wear just in the shop? I see like a lot of my favorite YouTubers in the woodworking space that I watch, they're like wearing like nice jeans and stuff, and I'm like, I only wear my crappiest jeans in the shop. So basically we're just going to glue this down, and this doesn't need to be precise, you know, like we're still going to etch on, we're still going to cut the rectangles out on top of this, so it doesn't matter if you move the board a little bit during this, but once you're in the middle of cutting the rectangles for the pencils, you want to really make sure not to move anything. So I'm just holding this down for a minute. Let me see if I have anything somewhat heavy that I can set on this. I clearly didn't think this through. Get my props ahead of time, but basically I'm just going to put a couple of globs of glue in the corners to hold this together, and this is my new cordless glue gun. I Ryobi makes like every possible tool to use their batteries, and I kind of love it. I'm surprised they don't have like Ryobi toothbrush. And this glues, ooh, this is the longest I've had it turned on, and it's like, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, it's like steaming. I normally only have it plugged in for a few minutes, but I turn that off. It's dripping a lot of glue. So we'll let that dry for a minute. I'm just gonna set my glue on top of it for now, and maybe my water bottle. But we will let that sit for a minute, and I will hop back to the chat and see if there's any questions. Like it on the outside. The hot glue is just because I don't want to wait for it to dry all the way, Bill. I'm not sure what you meant. Oh, like it on the outside. Got it. Yeah. The hot glue is just because I don't want to wait for the wood glue to dry all the way. If it was a thicker board, I would just use a pin nailer, but I tested my pin nailer yesterday, and my shortest nails still go about a 1/4 inch through the board, and I don't want to either dent my honeycomb or deal with nails sticking out the back of it. So the hot glue is just to hold it in place a little bit like a frame while the wood glue dries fully. Let me. So yeah, just gonna give that a few more minutes. While that's happening, though, I guess maybe the glue will have more time to set than I thought, because we have to design our bits in Illustrator too, or sorry, Lightburn. So let's hop back over to Lightburn. Oops. There we go, and I'll turn my webcam overlay back on. Cool. So I measured, and my these pencils that I bought, and I have a link for the carpenter pencils I'm using down in the description if you want to grab some yourself. But using my handy dandy digital calipers, I determined that my pencils are nearly exactly 15 millimeters wide. And they're a little too long to measure length with the calipers, but they are just under 7 inches. I would say 6 and 30 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a rectangle that is that big. Again, I don't know metric, but I optimistically want to learn metric. And so we're going to type in terms of the width, what is 31 divided by 32? 0.968. 0.968. So 6.96. Wait, what did I say? 968. 968. 968. 968 inches. Cool. That is apparently 176.988 millimeters. And then the height is 15 millimeters. So we got that. And then we're going to change all this, the necessary parts to template layers so that they don't etch or anything when we're working. You can set them to, turn off the output, but Lightburn, what I like it is that it has 2 template options, T1 and T2, and so if you put those, set your layer to those settings, it will just be a part of the frame, but not the etch. So we'll do that eventually, but for the time being, we want to have it in place. So One of the other things that I determined when I was kind of pre-planning this project is these pencils have they're kind of they're like squished hexagons. If you look at them straight on, if you look at them straight on, they're kind of like switched hexagons, and so that means that there's only there's a smaller area than 15 millimeters on the pencil that is kind of worthwhile in terms of etching. If you tried etching the full 15 millimeters, you're going to get the area that's beveled downward, and it's going to either look weird or be out of focus or whatever. So that inner rectangle, the flattest bit at the top and bottom, I determined that to be, I believe, 10 and a half or 11 millimeters. Let me quick check my Illustrator document. 0.423 inches. Yeah, it's 10 point. I think I did 10.75 10.75 millimeters. So a little under 11. So what we're going to do is to make note of that in our template. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it in place. That's Alt-V in Lightburn. And then we're going to change this to 10.75 millimeters. And before you hit enter, make sure that the transform origin is in the center. That little grid of 9 circles, make sure it's in the center one, because that way when we hit enter, it will scale from the middle of the rectangle and it'll be centered on top of it. Great. So and then that should still be the same width as our other one. Great. The other thing I noticed, I did do a test etch yesterday, or test cut yesterday, and determined that scaling the 15 millimeters down just a little bit made for a nicer tight fit so on the pencils, so they didn't like try to roll around or move around when the air assist was going. So what did I use? I think I used 14.75 millimeters. So I just remember that. So I'm going to change this to 14.75, and that's just like, I guess, a kerf allowance effectively. So that looks good. So I'm going to set this inner one to a template now, because we're definitely not going to be using that one. But this one, I'm going to set this to red, and I'm going to do it to a line. And I did create a test or a cut settings for this plywood that I just glued down yesterday. So I'm going to use that now so I don't forget. But with those two added, we're going to go to, can we see my menu? I'm not sure if you can see my menu because of how I'm sharing my window. It's kind of hard to know. I don't think so. So let me figure out what the setting is, but we're going to group it effectively, and I think that's just group. I might have to figure out a better way to share my screen next time I do this. Yep, so it's the range menu, and then group, Command G. So now if I select that, it's one object, and I can move it together. So with that, let me quick check my comments. Bill says, I've yet to buy a laser. I'm looking at a cheaper atom stack unit. I'm not sure I will be able to hold things still with it. Yeah, I'm not sure either, Bill. I'm not familiar with that brand at all, unfortunately. But yeah. back to Lightburn, what we want to do now is create 12 copies of this and make them uniform spacing apart from one another. And that is we could do that manually, but that'd be a pain in the butt, and it would not be guaranteed to be super accurate. And so Lightburn has an array tool. It's this. I don't think my mouse cursor movements are showing on the stream either. So on the left side of the screen, on the bottom left, you see the 3x3 grid of squares. That is the array tool. If we click that, and let me make sure my window is, oh shucks, I can't even see my array, can't see the array tool, which is problematic because you need to see that. Let me figure out how to do that real quick, just so that this is useful to you. Yeah, we're gonna add a macOS screen share, whole screen we'll call it. Yeah, apologies for this. First time doing this and learning as I go, apparently. And this will show my cursor too, so we'll do this. And that is huge. Transform. Scale. Fit to screen. That looks better. Alright, that looks good, but I don't love that it's not the right width, but I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. I guess get rid of my dock and stuff. But back in, that looks pretty good. I have my little monitor over here. So, yeah, all right, there we go. Back in business. In Lightburn then, we have this array tool. And if we click that, we can choose how many rows we want to create. And by default, it will create them going up. And you can basically choose what the spacing is and which direction. And I determined that a good spacing apart was 5 millimeters apart. So that's effectively, let me just do this on one to make sure. But if we have this at, let me zoom in, because this is a little different than how I did it in Illustrator. So 30 would be, is that from the top? I wonder if that's, yeah, let me change my transform to the top left, and that might change how the array tool works. So let's do a second row, and we'll do it as negative. This is strange. I don't understand where the spacing is coming from, unfortunately, because it should be, my object is 14.75 millimeters high. So I guess it's doubling that. It's doubling that. So if I want 5 millimeters in between, I just add 5 to whatever the double is, I think. Oh, we can do from center to center, padding between edges. Oh, there we go. That makes the measurement based on this is what I was looking for. I was expecting it to be 20 because 15 roughly height plus 5 would be 20. So, yeah, that works. And so I'm gonna add the additional 0.25 that we lost from the height, and sorry, yeah, 2.5, perfect. Great. So now with that height figured, that spacing figured out, and again, I use distance from center to center. And the way I got this -20, just because I kind of thought through it, let me explain it again. That is the 15 millimeters height from the first rectangle, plus 5 millimeter gap, plus 0.25 to account for the what I shaved off the height of the rectangle. So that will give me the proper spacing I'm after. So we're after 12, so we can just change this up to 12, and it's okay if they don't fit within our rectangle for now. Yep, we're getting cropped off, but that's okay. And this is, now that I'm sharing my Illustrator, my whole screen, I can show you my Illustrator document. And this is what I basically created in Illustrator too, as the, in my back pocket in case I couldn't do it properly in Lightburn. So that looks good. And this array tool, we're using it in like the most basic way possible right now. It's really powerful. You can have it. You're not going to see anything with the current shape I have because it's a rectangle, and if you flip it horizontally or vertically, it's the same thing. But this is a really great tool for nesting. You can, if you have some weird objects and you want to create a bunch of them, you can have it like flip every other layer, and then like shift the offset between rows and columns so that they can really nest like as optimally as possible. And I used this in December to make some custom PVC gutter clips for hanging Christmas lights on our porch. On our roof line. I attach all the C7 light strings to PVC pipes, and then I basically made custom gutter clips to hold the PVC pipes to the gutters, and I was able to use the array tool here to really optimally nest the resulting clips and really make the most use of my material. So what I'm saying is we're just scratching the surface here, and I might do like a whole stream on like the array tool at some point in the future. Speaking of which, if you have any suggestions for what I can do better in these streams, again, this is my first one, so bear with me. If you have any suggestions of what I could do better or what you'd like to see that I'm not showing, please let me know. And if you have ideas for future topics, put those in the comments. I would love to have like a giant list of stream topics to work through, and I can't know what you want me to do unless you tell me. So yeah, appreciate it if you would. So we're gonna go ahead and press OK, and now there are our 12 pencil holders etched in or ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and select all these and do command and do arrange group again. I'll use the menu now that you can. Oh wait, yeah, I showed it off, shoved it off the screen, but you can at least see the menu itself, I believe. Yep, cool. So I'm gonna group those, and now if we select it, it's a single group. And by the way, this I think it's yellow. I'm colorblind. This yellow square is indicating where our project would start on the laser, and so that's why we need the backing board to be like the starting point of our job. So with that selected, we are going to center align it roughly into our backing board. And I like to, whenever I'm doing this in Illustrator or a tool like this, I like to make it like very obviously not centered so that I can make sure it it's actually moving. Because if it was already centered and I did the center command, it might not be obvious that it moved. So it is very clearly not centered right now. So with it selected, I'm gonna shift select the backing board, and then I'm going to click this button, align selected objects vertically, and click align vertical center. Great. And then we're going to do the opposite, which is align horizontal centers. So now our many pencil holes are aligned vertically and horizontally with our backing board. And this part is totally not necessary, but I want to have them, as you saw in my Illustrator document, I have them numbered, and I'd like to do that in Lightburn as well. So let's figure out how to do that. Text tool is foreign to me in Lightburn, and I have my font that I use for everything called Intro Rust, and I really like it. Oops, I'm going to change that to a different fill layer, and we'll make sure all of our settings are good later. But let's scale that down, and we will. I'm going to actually ungroup all of our rectangles for a second, so that I can align this one to this. And let's try that. Align horizontal center. Perfect. Cool. So now let me group those again, because I just ungrouped them. So Command G to group. Great. So let me try that array tool on this again. I assume the spacing should work perfectly since we, yeah, it totally is. Since we want the same spacing effectively, I can just do that here, and it looks like my previous settings will work fine. So I need to obviously change the numbers, but that's okay. It'd be a pain if it was more than a dozen, but. And this is just to, I guess, not have to count. If I want to do like just half a dozen, I wouldn't have. I could just at a certain point optically telling how many you have in, or visually telling how many you have in there. Like if you had 9, like it wouldn't. You might have to count, and so like having the numbers next to it will help not have to count each time. So I'm gonna change my font size a little. Oops. Looks like I don't have my. It looks like if I change my height, it's going to change my spacing, but it looks like by an equal amount. So, oops. So, I think I can just, yeah, go down 1 or so, and that looks good. So now we're going to go ahead and group the two of those together. But first, let's hop back to. Let me check my comments real quick. Looks like Brendan's joining us from Ireland. Hello, Brendan. Welcome. I wonder what time it is there. I have some coworkers in Denmark, so I'm gonna guess it's probably close to midnight your time. So thanks for joining at this late hour. Cool. By the way, if you're enjoying this stream so far, I'd appreciate if you gave me a thumbs up. That might help other laser-minded people to find it and encourage me to do more of these in the future. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to Lightburn. Whoops, sorry. Yep, 840. Brendan says so. Not I was not close at all. It turns out so. um, Great. So we have our numbers and we have our slots, and the slots, I believe I have them set to red, right? Yes. So before I forget, and I think I might have already done this earlier, so maybe I'm forgetting that I remembered. Let's assign this to that layer. Yep, I already did. So cool. And then to the blue, I'm going to just do a dark etch, and that's really fast, but let's fill. Let's do a fill, and we'll do. I don't know why I even bothered with the setting. I just want a light etch for the numbers, and then once the numbers are made, we'll turn them to a test layer. But let me quick look at my Illustrator document, see if I'm forgetting anything. It looks like I had previously ungrouped this. I guess I used my lighter version of the font. So let me just quick change that. Intro Rust book. There, it's a little less obnoxious. So yeah, let me quick look at this, see if I'm forgetting anything. It looks good. So what we'll go ahead and do now is just kind of nudge this to be as centered as we want. Like I'm kind of centering it based on the whole thing because I have the numbers. If the numbers weren't there, I would just center them based on the rectangles, but that looks good to me. So let me go back to the laser, and we need to lower our bed. The glue should be pretty dry by now. The glue should be pretty dry by now, so we're probably good to go ahead and use it. And like I mentioned, this hot glue was just kind of to temporarily hold it in place. So I may try to peel that off later, but some of that glue dripped from my glue gun and got on here, and it's. I'm gonna grab my putty knife to scrape that off. It's stuck on there good. I guess that's the benefit of high temp glue guns. Again, trying my best not to trip over my million wires I got set up for the stream. Oh, yeah, this glue is strong. So that's good. Maybe a little bit left right there, but that should be fine. So now that we have, let me switch to the other camera. So now that we have the board glued down, we're going to cut out the inner rectangles. But first, we need to make sure that the laser is focused on this top board. And my Thunder laser has autofocus. That's what this is. And there's like a beam across the bed. And how it works is you typically just lower it, like lower than you think it needs, and then press autofocus in the laser software. So I will do that now. And that just brings the focus for my 2-inch stock lens it brings it up to the surface of this whatever tallest item is in the pathway of the autofocus. And I don't think that's gonna get etched, but I got some more glue there in the corner. I'm just gonna get out of the way. That looks fine. Cool. So my glue is probably dry enough. And what we're going to do now is go ahead and cut our job. So let me switch back to Lightburn for a second. Sorry, I'm like playing with all my different views, and we actually want to go back to Lightburn. Cool. So let me look at my settings real quick before we etch it. So the outer line, we don't need that to cut right now. We're done with that one. So we'll set that to a tool line as well. Oops, we can't just select the cut layer. We have to select the actual object. So we'll press T2, and now that's a tool line as well. Then the red line will also eventually be a tool line, but first it needs to be a cut line. And I'm going to turn off the etch of the numbers right now. Right now I just care about the inner rectangles where the pencils will sit. So let me quick preview what it's gonna do. It's going to go from the top corner of the it's going to go from the top corner of my frame that I cut, and then it's going to go into the middle of the wood and cut piece by piece by piece by piece and go from there. And yesterday when I did my test cut, I was just doing it straight on the honeycomb bed, but because it's set to, or because I have it glued down to another piece of wood, I assume it should be fine cutting through there, but if it's, I might pause it after the first one and double check that it's actually cutting through, and if not, I'll modify my settings. But we're focused, autofocused. We have our laser settings. We're only outputting the line path of the inner rectangle, and yeah, we're good to go. So let me go ahead and switch cameras, and we'll go close the laser bed, and we will go to the laser and start the job. And right away I'm going to pause because I forgot to turn on my air assist, or sorry, my exhaust, as you can see by a little smoke. So let me let my fan get up to speed first. All right, now we can let it go. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of funny. The smoke is just billowing out the side of the piece of plywood. So it's, I definitely don't have my glue seam 100% perfect because the smoke is clearly traveling underneath the plywood and escaping. But that was kind of a cool thing to witness. So I'm going to pause it after this first one and make sure it comes out. All right, we're paused. I'm gonna let the smoke dissipate for a second. I might have gone too close to the edge with that top one, because, yeah, I might have. Let me try a second one. And then I'll fight with the first one if I need to. Alright, I just paused it again. I think I saw a drop there. I may have missed it, but yeah, that one's loose. So my problem is that I glued too far in on that first one, and probably the bottom one. So this may be a a 10 pencil jig if I can't get those out easily. But we'll see. We'll let it finish, and there's a lot of smoke char on the inside, but that's fine. And we can actually test fit a pencil while we have the laser open. And that's a nice fit. Yeah, perfect. Cool. I'm gonna let the job resume. Oops, I just realized I didn't resume the job. My bad. There we go. Looks like we got a comment from a similar name, Fabulous, as I'm wondering if that's one of my cousins. I can't tell from the thumbnail. I see a monkey though. Is that you, Blake? Mason? One of the two? I think we both use the Fabulous moniker for our last name, being so similar. It is really cool. I don't know if you can see it, but there is like that smoke billowing out the side of the plywood. It's kind of funny to see. I don't have my my laser exhaust on full time when I'm working on the laser. I only turn it on when I'm starting a job because I live in Minnesota and I have the garage heated, and it's warmer than it has been the last few days. It's currently 24 Fahrenheit. But with the laser exhaust, it's literally just pulling air out of the laser, and the laser is replacing that air with air from the room. And I don't want all my nice heated, conditioned air being blown outside onto the roof. So I really try to minimize the exhaust fan being on while I'm working if I can. And I actually have the heater turned off right now while I'm doing this live stream because I don't want extra noise to interfere with the microphone. Hopefully I'll have to listen to this later to see how bad the laser exhaust is on your end, dear viewer. because the microphone I'm using does have some built-in noise suppression and whatnot. So as long as I'm talking, whoa, what is that? Got a little sizzling from the inside there of that one. As long as I'm talking somewhat close to the microphone, it should be dropping out the background noise a little bit, but again, I'll have to check that later. Bill says you can see the smoke, so that's cool. I don't know what that little flare up was on the end of the last pencil. This plywood is not like the greatest. When I was cutting it this square out yesterday, I think it's like got like some type of like fiber reinforced core or something, which is kind of annoying because it like I had almost cut through, and when I almost cut through and it's not in porn, like I'll just like rip it off or something, like a little corner, and it was like hanging on for dear life because of that inner thread. So I'm like, yeah, it must be some kind of like fiber reinforced plywood, which I did not know was a thing, and I don't know why that needs to be a thing, but I have some better plywood, but I don't use that for jigs. I use that for like finished products like magnets or keychains or Christmas ornaments or stuff like that. That's a maple veneer MDF core plywood that I get from one of our local hardware stores, and I like that a lot for laser etching. Bill also says the sound is fine, so good to hear. Thanks, Bill. Almost done. I think there's one more. There's another flare up too. So weird. Oh well, the template does not, or the jig does not need to look pretty. That should be one of the takeaways from this project. Is the jig is merely a tool, and tools don't necessarily need to be pretty. Final stretch. And I forgot to mention it before we started the rectangles. Great. We are done, so I'm going to turn the exhaust off. Great. I forgot to mention it before starting the pencil etch, but this is before etching that. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're still in the corner. And now that we've etched the rectangles, we can actually take the template out if we need to, because as long as we don't move the rectangles in our template, which we won't, they will always be in the same spot. If we move this out of the way and then put it right back, we're in the same exact spot as when the laser starts up a new job with that template. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the ones out that are easy to get out, and then fight the two that I probably glued down. And on templates like this I've done in the past, this one's not coming out super clean. On templates like this I've done in the past, I've, oh, here's what we're talking about. I guess that's not fiber. I've done like thicker objects than a pencil, and in that case, I actually cut out the inner part of the board as well, so that whatever it was effectively sitting on the honeycomb, and then these were just like bumpers to like hold it in the exact spot. But for pencils, I wanted to be able to have those like sit nicely and not like fall through or something. So if you do find it's based on the thickness of your plywood or whatever that it's hard to get the pencils out, feel free to like, I don't know, drill a couple holes through the plywood and then use like something to pop them back up from the back. But if you're wondering why I didn't like cut this first, or cut the rectangles into this 1/4 inch plywood before gluing it on, I wanted to adhere this board to this board, which was indexed to the laser, before gluing anything down, because now I don't have to worry about perfectly positioning everything. It'll just be positioned correctly. I think there might be something with this plywood. Because it's being somewhat stuck. I might have to do a second pass on that one. I'm gonna move on. And while you can be a little rough with it, I guess don't be so rough that you accidentally like break one of your inner, because these do have a little flex to them because they're not glued down. That is something else you could do if you wanted. Is go through later with some like, if you like spray finish this with some polyurethane or something, that would kind of lock it in place and also kind of get rid of, or maybe prevent some of this like smoke char from getting on your pencils, but I'm not too worried about that. See, this is garbage plywood. This might be a good reason why we didn't etch the numbers first, because now if I can't use the top and bottom one without really fighting, this can just be 1 through 10 in the middle, and we can, I don't know, laser at some settings or something there. I'm gonna go ahead and do a second pass over those trouble ones and see if that helps. So again, with my board, it's perfectly indexed as long as I, put it in the exact same way and reference those two edges. So we are dealing with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll try 7 and 8, and I'm just gonna jump ahead in Lightburn and have it redo those two. This is maybe another opportunity to show a cool little feature of Lightburn I've heard about in the past, but I've never really used. And that is the ability to look at the preview and tell the laser to start the job from there. So this is, so we go 3, 4, 5, 6. The next one is 7. So I'm going to have it start at the end of 6. Let me count again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Great. We'll have it start at the end of 6, and then we'll click start here, and then it'll say start job on laser from here. Let me turn my laser exhaust on again. Give it a second to spin up. So yeah, I'm gonna click start job on laser from here. And then it will go ahead and, oops, I started to, I'm gonna pause that. I must have miscounted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I swore I, let me try that again. 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 and 8. They're supposed to be 7 and 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Start job on laser from here. Yeah, there we go. I swore I counted correctly the first time, but apparently not. So yeah, that start job on laser from here function in Lightburn is super handy because if you only had 2 problematic ones, for instance, you can just jump ahead in the job to the problematic one and have it start there, rather than like what I've done in the past was like, oh, delete those first rectangles so that they're not even there to, cut. But when we're doing like a template like this, we don't really want to be moving our objects around inside of Lightburn. So after this one finishes, I'm gonna stop the laser and try removing them. So that it doesn't try cutting again where we already got them out. Cool. There we go. That came out easy, and that came out easy. It's weird, like the soot, I guess, is like kind of wet. Let's curious if there's anything I can do to get that first one out without damaging the jig. But first, let me get 9, so at least we have 11. Sorry. That way we at least have 10 to work with, since my dozen might not have gone to plan. So I'll switch back to Lightburn, and we'll do the preview mode again. And so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7. This is 8. This is 9. This is 10. And then this is number 11. So we'll start. We'll start job on laser from here. And we'll switch back. Ready to stop the laser after. Actually, I'm going to let it go again on number 12, just in case that helps release the glue that I likely glued down. I didn't realize my design was going to be that close to the where I glued. Otherwise, I would have been a lot less generous with the glue around the perimeter. Great. I'll let that smoke clear out for a second. That's a good point, Bill. Thank you. That's a good point. Yeah, the having to do the recuts unnecessarily or unintentionally is showing um, the repeatability of the jig. Like you've clearly seen me take it in and out like half a dozen times already, and it's cutting exactly where we need it to. So this one might be a lost cause, unless I can sneak in from the bottom of this one, but I don't know. Let me grab my utility knife. We'll try that, but I'm thinking it was a lost cause. I cannot find my utility knife, which is no surprise. I rarely can find things when I need it. Let me try this old steak knife without cutting myself. Easier said than done. You know what? I think those are lost causes. So we're gonna call this a jig. We're gonna make a mount. We're gonna, what's it called? Make a lemonade out of lemons, and instead of it being a cut a dozen, it's gonna be a cut 10 jig, and that's okay. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. So let's switch back to Lightburn and modify our numbers to be a little more accurate to the reality of our situation. All right, back in Lightburn. And basically, those are ungrouped right now, right? Cool. So the most important part, now that our rectangles are cut, is we cannot move these at all. If we move these, then we could be screwed. So make sure not to move that. Even the ones that were broken, like they are those, I guess you could delete from your template just so you don't accidentally place them there. But we're gonna just move our numbers down 1 through 10, and then if I had a poop emoji vector handy, I would just put those here as a self-deprecating move to myself. Trying to think what I want to do. So next, I am going to ungroup these. Actually, no, I might be able to do it without ungrouping it. Basically, we want to convert those to a template now, and template line now, so that we don't accidentally run the job again. But actually, let me see if I can do it a different way. I want to select. We have, the red rectangles. We have those nested a couple times. We have the group of 12, and then each one is a group of the red and then the inner light blue, colorblind again. So let's see if I can do it another way. I'm gonna go to, it's in here somewhere. I thought I've used it before. It's like select all shapes in current cut layer. Cool. I didn't know if that would work since they were grouped, but it did. So it selected the rectangles, the inner rectangles, sorry, the outer rectangles of our pencil holders, and we are going to apply the T1 tool layer now, just to differentiate it from the inner tool layer. So I'm gonna move that up in my design, or in my cut layer list. And now if we look at the preview, it'll tell me that we have no layers to output because we have nothing turned on. This is the only cut layer, the numbers. This, let me make sure that's set correctly. What I'm seeing in the preview, I'm not sure if it's showing that it is starting from an upper left corner or something. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, there we go. It's just like, oh, I know why. Because I have there we go. Okay. I might double check my user origin or my frame. So if I switch back to the Thunder laser, I can do a frame test to make sure that if I run this etch pass on the numbers now, that it's putting them where I expect them to be. Because the preview, when you have so many template layers, it's not exactly sure. So if I press frame, and just to be clear, I'm pressing this button right here on my laser button, on my laser controls inside of Lightburn. If I press frame, okay, it's gonna put the numbers where we expect them. Perfect. That was the bit I wanted to be doubly sure of before I ran the job. So let's go ahead and do that now. So as you can see, that angle doesn't show the main action, which is why I set up my other camera off to the side, so you can get a peek of it through the glass at least. And let me quick check my comments. Bill asked if we could have applied a strip of masking tape under the top and bottom, leaving room for a roll of glue, thus letting you remove the wood. Just a thought. That might have worked, yeah. If I had known that that my design was going to be that far down, I probably wouldn't have needed to do the masking tape, but the masking tape would, I guess, at least like give a little extra insurance. But yeah, good suggestion. Let's go ahead and etch our numbers now. So I've not tested these etch settings on this wood, so hopefully it's decent, but it doesn't need to be. It doesn't matter what what these numbers look like, but we'll go ahead and start that job. And I turn my laser exhaust on to get it up to speed. All right. You know what? I'm not happy with that, so I'm gonna stop it, and I'm gonna turn that up to like 40 or something. Try that. Yeah, that looks better. 20 was just too light. What's everyone doing on their fine Sunday besides watching this? And there we go. So numbers are cut, or etched, I should say. And I'm going to quickly grab a little bit of sandpaper, clean that up. Not super important, but might as well. It's really fun playing limbo with all my camera wires and microphone wires every time I step away from the laser for a second. So this is not important, but just to clean it up a little bit. And I normally don't stand inside my laser, but a few particles of dust will not hurt. Gotta grab my blower too. I got this. I'll throw a link to this in the description or too. But it's a Ryobi little blower. I think it's an inflator actually, but I use it for blowing laser dust or light sawdust once in a while too. I'm gonna do this outside of the laser, but voila, clean enough. And again, I wrote with just pencil top and left right here. Before we conclude, I may do a permanent etch of that to just be a little more fine. Make it look a little more professional despite the broken piece of plywood here and the two that are unintentionally there, but not super important. So with this, our jig is effectively made. The next step is to load it up with pencils and do some tests or do some engraving. So I'm just going to do 6 at a time. My intent was to do half filled of the 12, but we clearly don't have 12 now. That one was a little tight. So that pencil must be a little longer, but that's fine. It's working just fine. Some can be a little tight, some can be a little loose. But with that, one thing I want to do right now before I forget, and again, as long as we're indexed to the top and left, we're good. But we have now added additional height to the focus. So we need to lower the bed and let my laser refocus on the pencils. And thankfully, the pencils are in the line of height. I'm going to move that out a second and then re-raise the bed. I think I moved a little. Cool. Now I can lower it. The pencils are in the line of sight of the focus beam, so we're good with the autofocus. So I'll press focus C, and it will go up until it breaks the beam. And great, now we have a dozen pencils loaded up, and we can go back to Lightburn and put some designs on them. I'm gonna quick check the comments first, make sure I'm not Idle Hands Workshop says you could put tape on both sides and super glue the tape to the tape, then remove that tape from both. We use this method for template routing. Works every time. Yeah, I've definitely seen that method. I've not had a chance to use it too much, but definitely a great tip for pieces you want temporarily bonded and not permanently glued down like I accidentally did. Yeah, thanks for the comment. Let me switch back to Lightburn, and we can now again this outer frame needs to exist. That's what's basically telling these rectangles how far away to be from the starting point of the laser. But because we messed up, or I messed up, you didn't mess up, we can go ahead and delete the, whoops. So those were grouped still, so I'm gonna command U to ungroup those. And I'm gonna go ahead and delete that one and delete that one. So now we have a jig that can do 10 pencils, and I don't know if there's a way to lock layers in Lightburn, but it sure would be great if that was a thing, because I basically don't want these to ever move. So I'm going to group them, and let me search lock selected shapes. What do you know? So we'll go to arrange, lock selected shapes, and now it looks like I can select them, but I can't move them, and that is precisely what we want. And you know what? We might as well do that for the backing too. We don't want the backing to ever move from its current position. Everything we do is going to be on top of this stuff. And you know what? We don't need our numbers right now either, because they're etched. So this is now our base template to start a new job of laser etching carpenter's pencils. We can go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Where's my? There we go. We will call this pencil jig final VO1, even though it's not final, because I'm gonna add a few things to it. But this is where we start anytime we want to add artwork. And one thing we still can do, if we remember what I was showing earlier with the array tool, if we our rectangles that hold our pencils are 20.25 millimeters apart. This spacing is in memory right now because we used it last, but if you close Lightburn and come back to this file later, that may be different. So it may be worthwhile making a note of that value, because keeping a note of that value is going to allow you to perfectly position one one artwork on the first pencil, and then clone it to however many you want to do. And you're going to want that spacing to be the same as the spacing of the rectangles. So 20.25 is our spacing for this job. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and I'm going to create a note for myself in the template that says spacing is spacing is 20.25 millimeters apart, or something less sentence like, something like that. Pencil spacing equals 20.25, and that's a little hard to read because it's a tool layer. So why don't we just apply, I don't know, that one, and we'll set it to um, never render or never output, and then I'll just go ahead and lock that too. So now we will always know that 20.25, did I put a comma? I put a comma. Silly Ron. Tricks for kids. So we're going to change that to a period. I think actually a lot of European languages use a comma instead of a period in their decimal notation. So maybe I'm just channeling my European brethren. Oops, I still have the laser exhaust on. We're not lasering anything. Let's turn that off to quiet it down, and then oops, sorry for putting a black hole for a second. So the spacing is known now. We won't forget that even if we restart Lightburn and that value is lost. I'm gonna go ahead and do some with my logo first, just so if there's anything that I need to adjust, I don't need to waste. Well, I'll still be wasting pencils, but I'm going to go ahead and use a blue fill layer, and I'm going to move that up. And the spacing or where you put it from the end of the pencil is a little up to you, but in my experiments yesterday, and I'll show this in a minute once I do one, but I'm going to actually do these from both sides of the pencil. Or on the left on this side, and then on the right the other side. If you're doing these for someone and you don't know if they're left-handed or right-handed, and a few of the pencils I'm going to make are for other YouTube, Instagram maker friends of mine. I don't have any idea if they're left-handed or right-handed, but if I put it on this side of the pencil, it'll work well for lefties who say have the camera. Switch to this view. If I put the design right here, sorry, I put the design right here, and they're working or something, and their camera's right here, it'll capture their logo right here, and that's nice. But if they're right-handed, and I put the design right here, it's either going to be upside down in this direction or away from the camera. So I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put it on the left and on the right. And I'm just going to flip the pencils around in the jig between those two passes. So I'm doing double-sided, but if you only want to do one-sided, I would recommend finding out if your customer is left-handed or right-handed so that it works best for them. So let's hop back to Lightburn. And yeah, so I already have my logo sized to the right height. And the reason we're putting it towards the end of the pencil, if I didn't mention this too, is if you put it in the center of the pencil, once they sharpen it a certain, like halfway, then all of a sudden the logo's gone. But by putting it towards the end, it'll basically be on there until they throw the pencil away. So let's say that's good. And again, reminder that we want the design, even though this is the bounds of the hole on the template, we want our design to be constrained within this inner bluish teal line, because that's where the top and bottom of the of the hexagon on the pencil is. So that's what we're going to do. And looks like I need to group my logo because it's multiple pieces right now. But with that done, we can go ahead and use our new favorite tool, the array tool. and set it to 6. I'm going to do 6 of them. And as you can see, with our spacing in here, 20.25, and again, if you lost that between jobs or something, that's why we have it noted. And it might be actually worth me noting that it's negative 0.25 in my thing, but I'll do that in a second because we're starting from the top and going down. If we were starting here and going up, it would be the opposite. But let's go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to arrange unlock selected shape and quick make a note of that to myself. Negative 0.25 millimeters. Cool. And just like that, we have our design on 6 separate pencils, and we can assign our settings to that layer. I did some tests yesterday, and I found, at least for my Thunder Laser Nova 35, 150 speed and 10% power looks nice. I'm trying to figure out what I did with my example pencil. I had it right before oh, there it is. Okay. This will be up to you. But I did these tests, and the settings I'm going to go with is this one. It's a little lighter and a little more shallow. And by the way, this like smoke you see, this comes off really easily with just a wet paper towel. So don't fret about that, and don't think you have to use masking tape. Masking tape would be such a pain in the butt on something like this. But this is shallower of a cut. And when you get too deep, the like inner parts of letters become a little too fragile. So that's why I decided to go on the shallower side. But let's go back to Lightburn. I'm going to turn my laser exhaust on, and again, assign to layer. I've already saved this. You can, if you have a Thunder Nova 35, you can use the same settings on the pencils if you are going to do something like this, and you should get hopefully identical results, if not very similar. Or the other way around. Very similar, if not identical. 150 power, or sorry, 150 speed, 10% power, and we're outputting that layer, and that's the only layer. And we can do a preview, make sure that's what's going to happen. And if we go to our EOS camera, we can quick do a frame test and make sure that it's going to etch where we expect it to etch, and it sure is. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So the laser's on, and we can go ahead and the exhaust fan is on, and we can go ahead and start our job. I'm going to grab some paper towels while this is running, just to have that ready to go. Looks like we got my pal Rixo in the comments. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. He helped me with some Spanish subtitles for my Papel Picado video. So shout out to him. Thank you very much again, man. Really appreciate that. Hopefully you guys can see the design coming through on those, but it looks like it's good. I'm just looking at a few comments. I always find it hilarious when it's milder in parts of Canada than it is in like Minnesota. It's apparently 34 Fahrenheit in Ontario, Bill. Lovely. Although I'm not sure if that's all. If that's, I know like the eastern parts of Canada are like actually lower in latitude than Minnesota, so that would make sense. But I always find it funny. And then yeah, thanks again, Harikso, for that subtitle help. I really appreciate it. And while this is going, actually, we can actually switch back to Lightburn for a minute, and that's almost done. So we'll switch back to Lightburn and grab all these. And if you want to make sure that they're the exact same distance from the edge that this side is, you totally can. I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm holding shift as I drag so that I'm moving in the same spot. But that way, putting them on the other side will allow us to basically just flip our pencils over and start the same job and get them on both sides, making them left and right hand friendly. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and open the laser and we'll clean them up at the end, but as you can see, it's a very nice light edge. But basically I'm just going to lift them up, flip them over. Just make sure that you're flipping them over in the same direction each time, so that you don't accidentally rotate while you're flipping, anything like that. This hole is a little tight. It's not too bad. And just like that, we can go ahead and start our job. I forgot to carry the microphone with me to the laser that time, so if you couldn't hear me as well, apologies. And if it's not obvious, like the jig is working as expected. Everything is nicely indexed to this position of my laser. So anytime I want now to do more of these, I can, no matter where the laser head's position is or whatever, I can just lower the bed, stick this in the top left corner, make sure it's aligned nicely against both edges, and put pencils in, autofocus it to the height of the pencils, and start the job. We're golden. You can make jigs for anything like this that you're etching frequently. If you're etching like slate coasters of a known size all the time, or like wooden disc of the same size, like Christmas ornaments or whatever, you can make a jig that puts them exactly where you need to each time. And I don't want to discount, like, this is, you should only really do this for something you maybe is in your product catalog all the time, or something, orders you get regularly. I have been known many times to create a temporary jig for something that was just a one-time thing. You don't want to go through all the work to do something like this for something like that. A few years ago, for instance, I made some baby blocks for some friends that had 3 of my friends had babies over the summer, and so I made them custom baby blocks. And I wanted to do a bunch of etching on the on each side of the squares. And so I made a temporary jig with actually I think I used my aluminum woodworking square to make sure that they were I had them indexed to sit inside the corner of the square, and that worked really well. So do a temporary jig if it's just like a one-off thing, but if it's something that you're going to be doing all the time or offering as a product for your laser engraving business or whatever, definitely consider taking the time to make a more permanent reusable jig. And I tend to keep my jigs about this size if I can, so that they don't take up a ton of space and they can stack nicely and stuff. But obviously that will depend on what you're doing. If you're doing something that's much larger to start with and you want to be able to fit more than one on the jig at a time, you may have a jig that's the size of your entire bed maybe, but that's up to you. Alrighty, we are done, so we can go ahead and open the laser, switch to the Thunder Cam, and there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out my pencils, and I'll show y'all what how easy they clean up with a little water. But if, just as a quick note, it came to mind, if you do have a couple slots that are a little tight, like I do, over repeated use, they'll get looser. So don't stress that too much. And if it's too tight, you could always just run the rectangle pass on that particular slot again. But where are my paper towels? Excellent. So I'm going to switch back to my webcam. And the thing I should note in terms of these cleaning up nicely is they are pre-lacquered. And so that's part of the reason the residue comes off so nicely, is because the residue is sitting on top of a glossy surface. So I'm just getting a little water on this paper towel, and just make sure you can see it before I do anything to it. So you can see the little smoky, sooty residue, and voila, no camera tricks. Yeah, it just comes right off. So again, here's the other side. And you can see what that looks like on the paper towel. So super nice to work with something like this that's like pre-lacquered, and you don't need to worry about it. So let me, now that I have a one that has the etching on both sides, I can kind of show you what I was talking about earlier. So assume this is sharpened on this end. The person's writing from it using their camera over here, and they want their logo in shot. If they're lefty, it works great like this. And if they're a righty, and by the way, I'm switching sides, it's visible right here too. So that is what I recommend. If you're doing a lefty, have the design on the left. If you're doing a righty, have the design on the right. And if you want to make them ambidextrous, put it on both sides of the pencils. It just obviously doubles the job time, so keep that in mind. But now I'm going to go ahead and switch back to Lightburn. And actually, that's not Lightburn, but let me, I guess, just reiterate again how, Bill already pointed out that like the repeatability is evident, but let's say I've moved my laser, I've had it, over here doing something, and now I'm ready to do some more pencils. All I need to do, and my jig has moved. All the things that could have possibly happened between a job, and even the honeycomb bed. The honeycomb bed could have moved between now and then, and that part doesn't matter because we're indexed to the sides. So what we will do is we will index to the left and right. We will go all the way to the top, all the way to the left. The laser, you can also press the home button inside of Lightburn if you want, but I just press and hold the left and right buttons on my, or left and up buttons on my laser's control panel. And then we need to put some more pencils in. So I'm gonna do a set of pencils for my friend Travis and a set of pencils for my friend Alma that I met at Workbench Con last year. Both really cool individuals. Travis makes really cool kinetic art. Kind of blew my mind when he showed me some of his stuff. Like he did this like whiskey cabinet wall mounted whiskey cabinet that basically has a giant iris, and really cool. And so again, I'm just going to go to Lightburn and press Focus Z, and that will focus on the surface of my pencils. So yeah, the repeatability hopefully is clear. Now let's quick head over to Lightburn and get his design ready to go. Bill asked if this would work on pencils that are, let me quick, sorry. Yeah, Bill pointed out the tightness could be variance in the pencils. That's totally true. It might not be our holes. It could be the pencils being slightly thicker. The variances are definitely probably not, the tolerances are not super tight on a carpenter's pencil, I imagine. And he also asked if this would work on colored painted pencils. And yeah, as long as the etched design would be visible on the painted surface. So like white painted pencils would work great, or like light gray. A darker color like red with like the color of etched wood on top of them probably wouldn't look very good unless you were able to get your design really dark and black. That might look better, but I would definitely go for either natural colored or like very, very light colored paint. So I'm gonna hop back to Lightburn and remove my design because we don't need my design. So you can keep this, you can save particular copies if you have like a job that you do all the time with the same logo. Feel free to save that as a file that you just open up and use. But in my case, I'm gonna pop a cough drop because I've been talking a lot and my throat is starting to get a little sore. But otherwise, as long as you have your blank template, it does not take too long to get a logo sized or placed on here. So Travis's logo, oops. What color was mine? Mine was blue, right? Yeah. Let me make sure I have the right settings. So his logo is this like, he makes kinetic art, so his logo or his thing, his brand is called Locomotion Creations, and he had shared this like dictionary definition of locomotion on his Instagram feed, and I thought that looked, I thought that was like a nice way of like conveying it. So I am going to try to get this placed such that I'm happy with it, but there we go. I have my Lightburn settings a little control arrow. I can never remember. I'm trying to nudge this just a little bit. And it's supposed to be control arrow, but let's just change this to 0.5 or something. Or 0.25. I feel like I'm changing these all the time. There we go. It was not sitting perfectly centered like I wanted, so I just nudged it a little bit. So with that, go ahead and group it. And we can go ahead and create an array of 6 and make sure that our Y spacing is negative 20.25. And click OK. And once again, we have our design that will render. And I'm going to switch to the Thunder camera again, just to make sure that it frames correctly. And it sure does. So we can go ahead and start that job after turning the laser exhaust back on. And it's up to speed. So his pencils are probably going to take a little longer because there's more extraversal in the design, but it won't take too terribly long. I was just going to say I'm surprised I haven't forgot to autofocus on something yet, because at first I thought that was blurred or out of focus, but then I remembered that when I first did the hairline on the 3/4 inch backing board that I definitely forgot to autofocus. That's like, I've been doing laser cutting and whatnot for probably 7 years. I first started it at Makerspace when I was engaged to get married, we wanted to make a ton of custom stuff for our wedding, and I joined a makerspace and used their laser to do it. And that's how I got my start in laser cutting. And despite having been that long since I've been doing this, I still tend to forget to autofocus, like when I first, or not autofocus, because not all, when I first started, the laser at the makerspace did not have an autofocus, so I was constantly using this like little piece of acrylic to focus. That's one of my favorite parts of the Thunder laser, is the autofocus, at least on the 2-inch lens. On the 4-inch lens or the HR lens, you do have to use a piece of acrylic to make sure that your focus is set, but for the majority of jobs, having that autofocus it's clutch. And I forgot to turn my webcam overlay off, so apologies for needing to look at my butt for a second. Yeah, those are looking real nice. Since I'm kind of on the repeat part of this now, doing the second and third jobs with it, does anyone have any questions for me that I might be able to answer? Anything I glossed over, went too fast, skipped? And if you're watching this later, feel free to ask questions as well. I'll definitely be happy to answer questions after the fact. This is the part of doing a edited video where I'd set the footage to 500x speed, so you don't have to watch the slow laser etching settings that I dialed in. One of my goals for this first stream was to walk away with a handful of ideas for future streams. So if you have any ideas for things like this that you'd like to see, whether they're entirely in Lightburn or a combination of Lightburn and laser, like active laser usage like this, doesn't matter. Let me know in the comments, and I will definitely add them to my docket. I only have like 4 or 5 other ideas on my list right now, so definitely want viewer feedback on what you want to see. I'm probably just gonna do the first side of this design on the stream here, so we don't get overly repetitive. But then I am gonna do one more, which was my friend Alma's, whose channel is called Pink Soul Studios, and she's hilarious. She just did a a chessboard that is little not safe for work to that I found absolutely hilarious. You can find it on her Instagram, but she's awesome, and her channel and Instagram is called Pink Soul Studios, and so let's go ahead and get her logo placed while we wait for this job to finish up. So like I said, I'm going to finish this later, so I'm going to go ahead and move this over so I at least remember to do that. And then I'm going to turn this layer off as far as output and show. And then I'm going to go ahead and import her logo, which is here, and I'm going to assign it red, and great, our job is done. So I'm going to assign it to this layer and go ahead and get place in it. So like you can probably see, I'm just eyeballing the distance from the edge. You can do like a fixed like 1/4 inch or something if you want, but I'm more than content eyeballing that little bit. I don't want that to be out of bounds at all. That looks good. There we go. So again, with her logo selected, and for some reason it's not letting me deselect it. Did I do something? Oh, I probably selected a different tool. I don't know. But let me go ahead and Command G to group that. And we will, oops, skip to the wrong window. And again, our handy dandy array tool, create 6 rows. Make sure they're good. Click apply or OK. And make sure they have the exact same settings as our previous one, since we're doing a different color this time. Yeah, and her logo is a heart with like wood grain on it. And because this design is so small, it doesn't come through a ton, but it does come through a little bit. I did a test yesterday, so we'll go ahead and get started etching that. But first we gotta take our other pencils out. So, yeah, that came out nicely. We'll put those to the side, and I'll do the other side of them later. And as you can see, I have plenty of these. I got this box of 72 of them off Amazon for, I think, like somewhat cheap, like 23 bucks. So not a bad price. So the link to that is in the comments if you want to grab some for yourself to do something like this. That's where I found the all natural wood colored ones, at least. You know what? Let's just do. I just did in the design. I just did, 6, but I'm gonna go ahead and just do 2, since she also has a wider design, and then I'll finish the rest later. But my intent is to give these to Travis and Alma at Workbench Con at the beginning of March, when I hopefully see them. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the other camera and turn on the laser exhaust. And do a quick frame to make sure that we're good. Yep, we sure are. And so we'll start the job. And I did not do it for the sake of being repetitive, but again, imagine that your jig, your laser had been used for something else in between, and you had to reset this up. All you have to do, slide it to the left, slide it to the right, move your laser head position all the way to its home position, and start your job. And as long as you're working from the file that you used to create the template, you'll be golden. I need to keep my head centered in my little circle more, don't I? I'm seeing that I was a little off. Oh well. First timers, benefit of the doubt, eh? I'm into like home automation and stuff. I should put like a pressure sensor in my chair so that it turns off the webcam overlay when I stand up. So if I forget to turn it off, you're not staring at my butt in a white circle. I love when the laser just has a tiny little area to do, and its X traversal is like super tight. But clean those up in a second. In the same way. And of course, it's probably not going to come across at all on my laptop's webcam, but you can definitely see a little bit of wood grain pattern in her logo, which is cool. That might come through. Yeah, it's coming through a little bit. So, Pink Soul Studios, and I don't know where Travis's pencil is, and his. Let me clean one up. I don't think I did that yet. The inner part of the definition is maybe a little too small, but I think that's fine. It reads from like a distance, like, locomotion, noun, got his logo. So I'm pretty happy with how those turned out. And as you can see, 3 separate designs, all done in the same jig. moving them about and, or, resetting the jig between jobs to show the repeatability of it. I hope this was useful. Thank you for sticking with me. I had no idea how long the stream would go, but it looks like we're a little over 2 hours, coming on 2.5 hours now. So, a little longer than I expected. But when you're doing something on the laser and you have to like wait for the laser to finish doing what it's doing before you can proceed, it's not like when I'm doing a edited video and I can time lapse over it and speed it up. So hopefully as I continue to do these, I get a little better at planning a little bit ahead of time, better at not saying and all the time. That's something I've been working on for years, but I still do it. There we go. Better at switching from camera to camera, but I tried my best to pre-plan this ahead of time, and hopefully it was useful. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you have any ideas for future streams like this, where you're running into a problem in Lightburn, or you have something you want to create with Lightburn or jig you want to create, but you don't know how to go about it, let me know. Send me an email. I didn't think to put it as a title card, but my email is available on my YouTube About tab. My YouTube channel's About tab. So send me an email. And if you're not a subscriber already, I sure would appreciate if you subscribe so that you know when future streams go live or other videos come out. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you next time. Bye.